Hi guys, this is your instructor Ashish. I am recording this video for the week 7 programming assignment for our Java class. Without any delay, when we go to modules, you will see that for week 5 I created the assignment 8 video for you. For the chapter 2 assignment, for chapter 3 assignment, which is part of week 7, I'm going to post the videos right here along with this textbook provided videos. You will also have the videos for the assignment aid, so you shall find that present under week 7. When we click on chapter 3 assignment, it says that you shall complete the exercise 3.5, 3.6 and 3.12 from page number 98. When we look at the e-textbook, which I happen to have, we have the assignments 3.5, 6 and 12. 3.5 is right here. It's maybe a little small, but there's just one sentence. What's the purpose of keyword new? Explain what happens when you use it. This is a more theoretical question based out of chapter 3, which is Introduction to Classes, Objects, Methods and Strings. When it comes to object in classes, the keyword new is used to create an instance of a class or to create an object using a class. What happens when you use it? When you use it, you create a new instance which can be used to do the application programming. As we do the assignment, which requires programming for this week 7, we will learn how to use the new, what happens when we do use the new. Please describe this question in your own words so that you get to explain it to me more, and also apply your thoughts towards what you have learned by reading chapter 3. The exercise number 3.6, which is the second part, is default constructor. What is a default constructor? How are an object's instance variable initialized if a class has only a default constructor? A constructor is a particular method within a class. It's a special method that gets called when you use the keyword new. If you have written a constructor method which has the same name as the name of the class, then that is your definition of the constructor. But if you have no constructor, then internally Java will give you a default constructor. What does that default constructor do? Which is the part 2 of this question. How are an object's instance variable initialized if a class is only a default constructor? That means you haven't created a constructor. Those objects instance variable will be given the default values as assigned by the JDK. Doubles and integers will get zeros, boolean will get false, and the string will get a null value. Please read chapter 3 and write in your own words for question 3.5 and 3.6. Let's scroll down a little and look at the assignment 3.12. 3.12. As we scroll a little bit down, that's a little too much down, excuse me. 3.12, slightly above, is right here. It's invoice class. Create a class called invoice that a hardware store might use to represent an invoice for an item sold at the store. An invoice should include 4 pieces of information as instance variables: a part number, type string, description, type string, quantity being purchased, integer, and price being double. Your class should have a constructor that initializes the 4 variables. Provide a set and a get method. They are called setter and getter method for each instance variable. In addition, provide a method named getInvoiceAmount that calculates the invoice amount. That is, it multiplies your price with the quantity and returns that amount as a double. We will call that method getInvoiceAmount. If the quantity is not positive, it should be set to 0 in all places. If the price per item is not positive, it should be set to 0.0. We also need to write another class with this name, invoice test, and use it to demonstrate the invoice class capabilities. To begin the work, we will open Eclipse. Wherever you have Eclipse installed on your computer, please start it. I have configured my Eclipse to always show me the workspace location so I can choose where I want my documents to be saved. If you have defined and checked a default workspace, then you will not see this prompt. But regardless, let us load Eclipse. It might take a little bit time on your computer before you see the screen. Like I said, every week you shall start with a new project, nice and clean. So let us click on Java project, which is right here. And I would like to give my project a name, week 7 exercise 3_12, which is the exercise number 3_12. And we would like to press next button. It's going to have a source folder, and we shall press the finish button to create our project. It has a source folder. Let us right click on it and create a new Java class. We'll create a new Java class, and we are going to give it the name as given in the textbook, which is invoice. So we will create with a name invoice that a hardware store might use. Do we want to have public static void main? We don't. This is not going to be an executable class. It is just going to be a class which will enable us to have ability to store 4 instance variables as given in the question. Let's press the finish. And our outline for the invoice.java shall appear, as you can see on my monitor. We are told that this particular class will have 4 instance variables or 4 attributes, 4 pieces of information. So let us have a comment with 2 forward slashes. We will type a comment to say declaring instance variables. As you can see on my monitor, when you are declaring an instance variable, you generally use the keyword private, because these are private information associated with your particular class invoice. The first one is of type string, and it is part type. I'm sorry, some keys got pressed. Part type. And we are doing part number. I apologize. Let us change the name to be part number. The second one, and string should have capital S right there. The second one is part description, also string, quantity integer, and price is double. So let's go with it. Private string part description, semicolon to end the line, private int quantity, semicolon, private. When you are typing, you may go in the flow as you notice, and I'm correcting my mistake so that I don't have misspelled words. Even a small case can cause trouble. As you notice, when I was typing private, I was using capital P by mistake, and I was getting squiggly lines. Here we have the for instance variable declared, we are told to have get and set method for each one of them to set these things and to get these things. Because they are private, we need get method to get those value out. If we need it from another class such as invoice test, if we want to set it, we need to provide a public set class, because otherwise we cannot set the values to these instance variable which are all private. We will add a comment to say creating set and get methods for all instance variables. The comments shall help you understand the significance of different portions of the code. We will use the keyword public. We are using void, and we shall say set part number. Because the part number is of type string, we will say string part number string as a attribute that will be supplied to this set method. They are also called setter. When you receive it, we will use it to set the value to the instance variable by the name part number. We may say this dot part number. I am waiting for Eclipse to show me the matching content as soon as I press dot, because Eclipse has just started. It is taking a little bit longer to show me the matching information, and I am saying use the parameter being supplied to set the part number instance variable value. Let us have the set method for all 4 instance variables, and the name of the parameter that I am using, I am just putting the word string in the end so that it doesn't confuse between the instance variable part description and the parameter or argument part description string. As you can notice, I have 2 of them done. I am using void because when you are setting something, your method doesn't return anything. Therefore, all of these are having the keyword void after them. For quantity, I'm using the word value, and the name is quantity. Let's fix the spelling so that we can have everything done correctly. This bottom area, we don't really need it, so I'm just going to squeeze it. Neither do we need much space for this left and right, so we are just squeezing the content to focus on the code. We were told that we need to check for negative numbers before setting the instance variable. What does this signify? This signifies that if the incoming value is negative or less than 0, we need to be careful about it. We were told that if the quantity is not positive, it should be set to 0. So we shall say if quantity value is greater than 0, then this, which is the keyword to access the current class, inside that I have a quantity. I would like to set the value for this variable to be the quantity value or incoming parameter. If that is not the case, then I would like to say this dot quantity, my quantity instance variable, should have a value of 0. So this is slightly more different from what we did for the other set methods. But let's move on, and we are keeping some empty lines to not confuse ourselves with this curly brace which ends the class or is corresponding to this line, and we are typing one more final one, which is public void set price. Because price is a double, we are saying the parameter name is price value, and we shall do the same thing. Check if the price supplied is negative or not. If price value, and I have an extra p in the end, let's erase it. If price value is greater than equal to 0, if the price is greater than or equal to 0, then we shall have this dot price is equal to price value. Let's make the correction for this case and ensure that we are properly using all the variables in the appropriate case, so that we don't have any squiggly line. Now folks, I want to clarify, above in the quantity also we should say greater than or equal to. A quantity of 0 is not valid, so we are saying as long as what is supplied inside my set quantity method is 0 or higher, I honor that and I set it with that number to my quantity instance. If that incoming parameter is supplied with a number minus, then I'm just going to ignore it and use the literal number 0. In here also, I am making a correction of greater than and equal to. Else, we shall say this dot price with a capital P is equal to 0.0 and a semicolon. This is to say all the get set methods are done. We have 4 instance variable, we have 4 set method. Let's try to make the get as well. For get, we will use public, we will say string, and we will say get part number. It doesn't take anything, it just returns the value of that private variable by saying this dot part number and semicolon. That's it. We are not setting anything, we are just giving you back as a public class, that public method that some other class can call to benefit. Now let us move on with, we shall use the word return to return that as I have done now. Next is public string get part description curly brace to say I have my second get method which will enable anybody who use it to get access to the private part description instance variable. That is what I am returning to the calling class. I have another one which is going to return an integer, and the name is quantity. It doesn't take anything, it just returns this dot quantity. Whatever is the value of that private attribute, it shall return it back to the calling class. And finally, we have a double, which will get us the price, similar to what we have done in other cases. We will say whatever is the current price, just give it to the calling class, and utilizing the proper name in the proper case, we have completed the writing of the class, declaring of 4 variables, writing one set and one get for each of the 4 instance variable. For quantity and price, we have to use an if logic to add the logic related to the description in the assignment. Beside all this, we also are told to create another method by name getInvoiceAmount that enables us to get the invoice amount by multiplying price with quantity. So create invoice amount method, or we shall say creating, down below, and we will have public, because the quantity is integer and price is double, the outcome between a multiplication of an integer with a double could be double. 2.2, a double, multiplied with 100 could be 220, but 2.2 multiplied by a quantity of 2 could be 4.4. It could be double. So therefore, we need to have the return type as a double, and we have public double get invoice amount. It will return this dot quantity multiplied by this dot price. Take the 2, whatever is the outcome, give it back to the calling class. At this juncture, we have done everything that we were supposed to do. However, we also need to do a constructor. So let's add a constructor. We can add it anywhere. We'll go to the bottom and we will create a constructor which would go as public void the name of the class invoice and open and close curly braces. This is the constructor. It is empty, but we don't want an empty one. We would like a constructor which takes 4 parameters for the 4 instance variable and set those properly. So we will have part number string as first, string, part description string, another parameter separated from the first one via comma. The third one should be int quantity value, and finally double price value. When we get these 4 parameters listed within the parenthesis, we have ability to use them for setting up our instance variables. We will say this dot part number is nothing but part number string. This dot part description is nothing but the part description that is supplied while calling this invoice constructor, which requires the calling class to supply 4 parameters. Now regarding the quantity and the price value, we shall do the same. If quantity value is greater than or equal to 0. In such a case, we will do one thing, otherwise we will do another thing. So this dot quantity, if the number supplied is 0 or higher, we will set it with that. Otherwise, we will set our instance variable to the number 0. Similar logic for price value, to say when you call the constructor and if you send me a price which is a negative, I'm just going to plainly ignore it and set my price variable, instance variable, to a 0.0. But if you send me 0 or higher, then I'm going to honor it and use it to set my instance variable, as I'm doing on line 71. This is it. We are done with the coding for our invoice class. We have done everything we needed to in our source folder. For our project, we will right click and say, hey, I want to add another class. The name of this class is invoice test, and I do want a public static void main because I plan to run it and use it. Let's make sure the name is invoice test even in the exercise, and yes, we will use it to demonstrate the invoice class. So let's press finish button, and here we have a static dummy information popped up, or let me restate, empty information popped up. We will be filling it up to make use of this. We will add a comment to say, let us create an instance of invoice class. How about that? Okay, so we will create an instance of the invoice class so that we can use it. Let's do that. We will say I have another class with the name invoice, which is right over there. I'm using that and saying it's my invoice. To give it, to create it, I need to call new invoice and supply for information. Part number, let's say laptop. Our part number is L101. The part description is laptop. The third parameter that is required by our constructor is quantity. We'll say we got 12 of these and they cost us $900. We'll put a semicolon to say I would like to create an invoice class, and the fourth parameter should be a decimal. So we shall have first parameter as string, second parameter as string, third parameter as integer, and fourth as a double. Let's make sure that it is matching the description. We have string, string, int, and double. So as I'm writing this code, we are trying to see why is it still creating trouble with not allowing us to create instance of our class. So we shall take a look at this error, see that everything looks good. We haven't made any mistake in writing our code. So we shall attempt. Let's use the get methods to get the information out and get familiar with how we can use those get methods. So we will use print part number is my invoice dot get part number. We'll put a semicolon and we will use the plus symbol to display one line. Similarly, we will use system.out.println to say part description is my invoice dot get part description. Allow me to get access to that private variable, which is an instance variable, and similarly we are trying to use the plus sign to say, hey, my invoice, let me have access to that quantity as well. And finally, system.out.println in a new line, price is, I would like to display from my invoice get price information as well. Hey, why not we do this? System.out.println inventory is, we will benefit by calling my invoice dot get invoice amount. In fact, invoice amount is, we would like to call it, and to generate the invoice we are calling the get invoice amount. In the same line of thought, we may say for my invoice I would like to set the part number to phone 101 or P101. So I'm using the set method, and in the same line we will say set part description to phone. And thirdly, my invoice dot set quantity, I'm saying the quantity I have is 200, and my invoice dot set price, the price is $399.5. how about that, or 0.75. We have done these. We may use these lines of code we have written, and we can copy and we can paste it just to expect two sets of these information up here when we run it. First for the laptop, and then second for the phone. The invoice amount should be depending upon the quantity and the price. So we are using the get methods, the set methods, and the constructor in this test. Let's try it out. We will click on run and run it to see how it will behave. There is nothing we are asking the user to enter when we run it. The outcome in the bottom says the part number is L101. It's a laptop, quantity is 12, price is 100, and 9 times 12 is 108 with 2 zeros, so it looks correct. P101 phone 200, 399.75, and when we multiply those two, this is the outcome we will get. Guys, these two classes that you have here, these are the two you need to submit. Your project is located in a particular folder. You may look at the properties to identify where it is saved. Go there and look for two classes with these names, and you may submit it on Canvas as you have done in past. This concludes the video for week 7. I will post a link for this video under week 7 on the modules page so you can benefit. We covered all 3 assignments in this video for the week 7 of our course. If you need help, I'm at your assistance. Please call me on my cell or email me and I'll help you